Welcome back to Domestique Cycling Podcast. We've been away for a while, and I think our last episode was the Tour de France preview back in June. But I'm sure that Aiden and Cyrus kept you entertained during Tour de France with the cooldown. And I think Aiden has been doing an amazing job on our Hot Seat podcast as well. There will actually be a new episode of that out the day after this one comes out with Evenepoel, who's racing the World Championships. So be sure you're subscribed to that so you don't miss that. The end of the 2025 season is fast approaching, but we can't really close out the season without doing a preview of the World Championship road races. To do that, I am joined by Domestique editor Ethan and a special guest, Dan Challis. Welcome to the podcast, Dan. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks very much for having me. Good to be here.
You've written a number of feature articles for Domestique in the past couple of months. What would you say is your specialization?
I like to write a lot about, I guess, the global side of the sport, kind of beyond its traditional European heartlands. I love to write about cycling in Africa and its development kind of all around the world. And so, this is obviously, it's been a kind of key time for me this week, kind of writing a lot about the Kigali Worlds. And I think it's been a fascinating World Championships, hasn't it? It's been fascinating seeing it in a completely different place, a completely different context, completely different culture, and it's been really, really interesting to see it kind of out of its normal location. So I've been fascinated to see that, and looking forward to chatting a bit more about the road races today.
Awesome. Well, that seems perfect for what we're talking about today. The World Championship in Rwanda, the first on the African continent. The way we'll structure this preview is by first discussing the routes for the men and women, and then break down the main favorites and look at the outsiders as well. Let's kick things off with the men's route, which is the hardest World Championships route since ever, I believe. It is 267.5 kilometers with not a single flat meter in sight. Estimates range between 5,400 and 6,100 meters of elevation gain. That's a little bit more than your Zwift races, isn't it, Ethan?
Yeah, that's a lot more than ours. I think if me and you both were doing that, Bram, we would be, I'm gone, I'm dead after maybe a lap, maybe less than that.
So obviously there's a lot to say about this route. It basically being incredibly tough. There not being a single flat meter on it. Of course, there are a couple of flat meters, but the repetition of hills and the presence of a very treacherous mountain in the middle of it. I think that kind of already eliminates a lot of riders and makes a very small group of favorites, would you say?
Almost definitely, really. I mean, you're obviously going to have Pogačar in a world of his own. But then does the time trial influence your view on what's going to happen on Sunday? Because Remco looked in a very, very superb shape, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it's really, it's really hard to see. It's really, you look at the time trial and you think Pogačar, some of the images you've seen of him, he kind of really looks cooked. He really looks tired. He looks the same almost as he did kind of, in the back end of the Tour de France, where he just looks so exhausted. He still looks the same now. And, how is this? It's been a long season, racing so heavily throughout the spring, racing the Tour de France. It's really, there's lots of doubt being cast back from that time trial over how he's going to be in this road race. Like you say, logic probably says that Pogačar attacks 80 kilometers out and wins by 3 minutes, but there's a little seed of doubt in there now, which kind of adds to the excitement, which is quite good.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a Domestique podcast without me being able to talk about Remco, so let's start. It is just, I think he showcased there in the time trial that he's had a really good block of preparation, that he's finally been able to train properly. I think he said that basically it's first time this season where he had a solid month of training in without interruptions with illnesses or whatever. And And yeah, of course, a time trial isn't the same as a road race, but the contrast between his performance and the performance of Pogačar is, I do think it's saying something, and that Remco's coming into this really strong, and that Pogačar is perhaps fatigued after a very long season, and maybe Remco gets to thank Visma Bike for their for their Tour de France work, where they kind of killed off Pogačar for the rest of the season.
I think during the Tour de France, people kind of quickly forgot the 2 months of training that Remco missed over the winter. When he was hit by that car door, and that he only started racing in April, and people were saying, he's washed because he's so far away from Pogačar. But I think now, maybe, now we're kind of 2 months further on down the line. Remco is maybe hitting his peak while Pogačar is maybe tailing off, and maybe they're gonna meet in the middle for a kind of perfect kind of titanic battle on the streets of Kigali. I mean, that sounds pretty exciting to me.
It does sound exciting. Yeah. I think it may come down to the team game as well, really, because obviously Belgium in previous championships have obviously had a bit of a mess up, haven't they? Back 2021, obviously Leuven. I don't know what they was doing there, really. But yeah, going to 2025.
Nobody did.
Well, is he going to have to do his lone wolf kind of thing from Wollongong? I don't know, maybe something like that. Pogačar is going to obviously I think he's definitely going to have to do a solo move. Otherwise, I think he's going to be in serious trouble, I think, not winning the race. Because everyone is just going to team up on him, aren't they? Let's be honest there.
Talking about teams, I think Belgium is coming into this with a much more uniform strategy than what they've done in past years. One leader, really. I don't think there's any shadow leaders this time around. It is just all in for Remco. And then on the side of Slovenia, yeah, you do have a Roglic there. They have cards to play, but what did we see last year? Team didn't matter. Like Pogačar just went 100 kilometers out, and even though you had teams behind, it didn't really matter. This is a course that's even tougher. That's maybe even more preferential to Pogačar. So I'm not sure if the team is going to be that important. I think it's very quickly going to come down to men versus men.
I think that potentially, looking at Pogačar's team, does that make people think that they maybe even have to go earlier?
Yeah.
Are guys like, Ben Healy or, guys like the Italians you've got there, likes of Ciccone, the French with Alaphilippe. Are these guys, are they going to maybe go with 200, 150k to go and kind of really put the cat among the pigeons and say, Pogačar, what's he got? Doman Novak? That's probably it, because I don't see Primož Roglic working on the front for Tadej Pogačar. He may be told to, but I don't think he will. So, does that
make an interview
this
saying that he just needs to get out of the way, which I thought was a pretty weird statement to do.
Yes, we're at this kind of point again with Primož Roglic this year of kind of, why is he here at this race? It was almost at the Tour de France, wasn't it? He wasn't really bothered at why is he here? He's here for, Primož Roglic is a guy with ambition. He's not here to work on the front for 80 kilometers. So I think teams should be aggressive. They should take confidence, certainly from the time trial on Sunday, and they should think, we've got a chance here to do something.
I think it's going to go as well, like something like Amstel. When Alaphilippe did that silly move, and it just sent Pogačar with him. Someone's gonna have to try that and just keep doing that with Pogačar and just, I don't know, kind of get in his head kind of thing. But it's really hard to get in the head of Pogačar, isn't it? So I think definitely like a long range attack, maybe on the from 100 kilometers on the climb at Mount Kigali. I think if someone goes there, that could be a move you're gonna have to do. But Pogačar will likely go as well there, wouldn't it? You would expect.
Yeah, I think that place in the parkour is too predictable almost. If someone goes there, it's not a surprise move. Not anymore. Maybe 10 years ago, that would be a suicide move. But in modern cycling, that is
normal.
just, it's predicted that someone goes there. And actually, if nobody goes there, it'd be kind of surprising.
Strange. Yeah.
So you'd have to go in the lap before that. And that's actually, then we're talking about 120, 130 Ks out, which sounds like a suicide move. But modern cycling kind of works that way.
Well, I think when you're doing that in the altitude of Kigali, I think that will make a difference in terms of these long range attacks. There's only going to be so many people who can suffer for that long at that altitude. Some of the heat doesn't seem to be as much of an issue for the riders. It's kind of high 20s, isn't it? But what a lot of the riders have been talking about is the air quality as well. They've been talking about it kind of, when they're breathing in, it almost feels like, the air is really thick and it's kind of, it's foggy and it's kind of, that air quality is just not there. Like if you were racing in Switzerland or you're racing somewhere in Europe. So some riders have been saying that's almost had more of an effect on them than the altitude. But it'd be interesting to see how that impacts that'll impact some riders more than others.
Yeah, we actually saw that today with the TTT mixed relay, where I think Belgium very quickly lost Florian Vermeers, and afterwards Victor Campenaerts also said that they really underestimated the altitude and the effects that had on their performance. So I think Campenaerts even said that if the road race had been today, then he wouldn't really have been able to help Evenepoel, because he just would have imploded and just kind of completely misunderstood his own power numbers. So looking at the laps themselves, there is a couple of climbs on there. We've talked about the Mount Kigali, which is a 5.9 kilometer at 6.8%, but with peaking gradients towards the top of around 13%. I think there's been some footage online on Evenepoel and Pogačar kind of reconning that climb. It looked pretty horrendous. But you also have on the local circuit, you have the Côte Kigali, which is a 0.8 kilometers climb at 8%, and then the Côte Kimihura, which is 1.3 kilometers at 6.2%, which I think they've done in the TT as well.
This is the cobbled climb, yeah. This is a cobbled one.
But it's like a Flanders climb, isn't it? Really, kind of thing. I had to look.
Well, that's what Pidcock says today, hasn't it?
I've seen that. Yeah,
Pidcock today, he said it's like the old requirement, which is an interesting comparison. And that just to say, I mean, that the Côte Kimihura as well, that is leading up to the, that kind of finishes as I'm reading this on the map, that finishes with 1K to go in the race. So if we're thinking that's, if there's a situation, who knows if there's a group that comes to the line at that point, but that's, in the kind of final lap, that's definitely a last gasp kind of attack point as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's likely that there will be a group at that point?
Who knows? I'd really have to get my crystal ball out at that point. But I don't think it is likely. With the number of climbs, with the accumulation of elevation gain, I think it is more likely that we're going to see ones and twos coming to the line.
It's nearly. I'm going to stick my neck on the line. I'm going to say it's guaranteed solo. I want to say it like that, really. I think because someone is going to at least send it on a climb, and then there's a lot of recovery kind of in between kind of thing. You have a lot of descending and things like that. So you're going to be, if you attack, you're going to be fine kind of thing for a little bit. It's about sustaining it.
Yeah, I think something as well is in terms of attacking, is that these roads that we've seen already, these roads are not technical. These roads are wide. these roads, they kind of roll really nicely. There's no furniture, no kind of road furniture, which is going to make it more difficult for riders to attack, for riders to get away, because as soon as if you're on a technical circuit, you can get out of sight very, very quickly. Or maybe a rider can use their descending skills to get away. These are long kind of lazy corners. It's not a technical kind of windy, twisty circuit. So in terms of solo attacking, I think that is also going to play into things.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a twisty section, I think, near the top of the climbs. That's at least what I'm seeing on the profile. But yeah, there are so many opportunities for attacking here, even if it's not technical. The amount of opportunities to attack, sort of the repetition of that, I think, is going to be exhausting. Combine that with the altitude. I don't think we'll see groups at the finish line at any point.
Here's a question: how many finishes?
25 is my bet.
Around 25, yeah, maybe 20.
I think that's pretty solid.
20, maybe even less.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
I think that's about right, because these, you're going to get riders lapped pretty quickly. I think you're going to get people kind of going out the back, and you're going to get riders who just can't finish this race. And I think we're around about between 20 and 30 for sure. A top 20 in a World Championships is a big result for some riders, but if there's might not be a top 20. So I think that's going to be fascinating.
The UCI point as well. What's the UCI points for a top 20?
That's true.
That could be
significant.
It's probably quite a lot. Yeah.
Actually, would like to know that now. I didn't research it beforehand. So I also don't think it's something that I think if you're dropped, are you really gonna fight to come back, or because you're passing the finish line so often, you're just gonna get off and say, okay, I'm done. I'm through with this. Because in the end, if you're dropped with 100 Ks to go,
what's the point?
Do you really want to do another 10 laps? Probably not.
No,
right?
absolutely.
It's the mentality of the rider, isn't it? I think as well. Some riders want to do it and finish it. It's like a goal kind of thing. And you get others, you just can't be asked, can they? Let's be real there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been speaking to a lot of the some African riders who are going to be racing on Sunday, or some of the smaller African teams as well. Even in some of the junior races and some of the under 23 races, their goal is to finish. Right? If they finish the race, if the juniors finish the race, and then they see that as a success, which really kind of shows you sometimes kind of the gulf in development in terms of riders in Europe and riders in some riders in Africa. A finish is a success. Definitely. It's a big accomplishment for some of these riders just to complete the race.
Yeah, the course is also there that it just is a challenge for almost anyone to complete the race. I would feel like, but of course, if there is a deficit in training methods and means to be able to prepare for this properly, then yeah, I can definitely understand where they're coming from with that goal. And this fly just keeps hitting me on the nose.
Attacked by a fly.
Yeah. Repeatedly on my nose. That's incredible.
On the other side, just to bring in the kind of African riders, the lack of technical nature of this course will play into the hands of the African riders. Maybe not in the elite races, because these are so hard that that's going to kind of rule out. But in the juniors and the under 23s, the lack of technical technical challenge in on the course is going to play into their hands. That's the kind of, for African riders who come over to Europe and they start racing in Italy and France and Belgium with these narrow roads and these twisty, horrible descents, which you just don't get in Africa, in most countries in Africa. That's the biggest barrier for them when they come over to Europe. They're not going to have that here because it's not technical. Not as there's one technical section, but it's not as technical. The roads certainly aren't as narrow. So we could see in some races, we could see some of the Africans kind of doing better because of that. Also, just as a point of order, the 20th in a Worlds gets you 45 UCI points. And you score UCI points all the way back to 60th.
Okay, so every finisher gets points. That's nice.
Every finisher will get points, but you get 900 for winning. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of UCI points.
Pogačar really doesn't need those, does he?
He should let Leknessund win, I think, and then everyone will be happy and go home. And then World Tour, thank you very much.
That's one way to look at it. I think just quickly going to something else, the breakaway. Typically, we see a timid fight for a breakaway on a world championship. I think this time around we'll see a pretty massive fight, especially among African riders, to get into the breakaway and showcase, just represent their countries in their continent. Do you think that fight will last for a long time?
I think it might go on a while. We've seen breakaways, obviously, in actual Grand Tour racing, not in obviously World Championships, go on a while. But due to the nature of the course, I think it might go on a while. But also because there's the amount of opportunities there is for like African riders to demonstrate themselves and their talents, which is going to be nice to see really as well for them.
Yeah, you're going to probably see some African riders, to be honest, overextending themselves in the first 20 kilometers. You're going to see some highly motivated riders blasting away in the first 10 minutes, and then promptly go out the back because this is their there's not going to be a bigger race for them in their career for most of these guys. So fair play. I mean, if they can get on the front, if they can get some TV time and a world championship, I mean, I'd do it. That's what I'd do. First, I probably last a kilometer. Just sprint for the first kilometer, get on TV, and then that's me done. And then because I'm not going to do anything else. Yeah, sure. So I think we'll see a lot of that. But I do hope that we'll see. I think it was at the Olympic Games road race last year where we saw this. Yeah, there was this really kind of global breakaway. There was riders from Rwanda and Uganda and Mauritius and lots of these places. I think there's a Thai rider in there, and there's a rider who's Charles Kagame, he's two-time African champion. He's here in this race from Uganda. He was in the breakaway in the Olympic Games last year for 190 kilometers, and then he was the only rider from the breakaway to finish the race. He was the last finisher under the Eiffel Tower in Paris, and he's got a massive engine. Like I said, two-time African TT champion. Doesn't have a TT bike this year, so he wasn't able to do the TT. Because his team that he's now racing with, Team Amani, they do gravel racing, they do road racing, but he didn't have a team bike with his a TT bike through Factor, who they're sponsored by. But he is going to be here for the road race, so he'd be a good candidate, I think, for the breakaway, and I think it would be great to see a Rwandan rider in there as well. But I think we definitely will. It's a lottery, isn't it?
Especially with the fans. The fans are absolutely crazy, and I mean the goosebumps you're going to get from that. I think it's maybe the best fans I've seen at World Championships. In all honesty, they're just absolutely mad. They're more mad than the Belgians.
Well, thank you.
They are.
I do agree with that. Like even the atmosphere during the TT was really special. yeah, I think the clips that have sort of circulated online of riders doing their recons and just getting swarmed by people on bikes, getting overtaken by people on bikes carrying gallons of milk and stuff, like it's been incredible, and also just really heartwarming. And I think it just kind of goes to show that cycling culture is also really alive there, and they're really passionate about it as well. If that's all for the main for the men's race, I would also quickly go over the women's parkour. A lot simpler of a parkour because it is just the local laps. There is no Mount Kigali in there, but it is a 164.6 kilometer race with still 3,676 meters of elevation gain, according to this calculation. For the women's race, that also seems just incredibly tough. And without that Mount Kigali, there's also just, it's a lot more chaotic because there's no like crescendo point within the race where you think, okay, that's where it's going to explode, which I do think that's where it's going to explode on the men's race. The women's race doesn't have that. It's a lot more unpredictable, in my opinion.
That also makes it better to watch as well, as a viewer as well, and also maybe to race as well. I don't know if some riders prefer to have that kind of predictability compared to unpredictability, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the women's races all this year have been a lot more fun to watch than the men's race, haven't they, as well? So
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. They'd still do the Côte Kigali, the Côte Kimihura. So I messed up the pronunciation of that name. My apologies. But yeah, I think it's still an incredibly tough course. And as a DS coming into this, I would be very confused on what to do, because I think it's very quickly going to become a women versus women fight with no clear role of helpers. Of course, Netherlands is coming into this as the big favorite, I would say. But the Netherlands always have some tactical issues of being able to ride for a singular leader. Do you think they're going to be able to work it out this time?
No, it's like Belgium and the men's. Both of them go hand in hand with each other and always find a way to mess up. But I don't think it's going to really matter for Vollering, though, really. I think Vollering is going to be cooking there, and as the youth say, cooking. So I really believe in Vollering in that race.
You don't think Van der Breggen is going to be an issue within her team?
Vollering can do it herself. I think.
It's club. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I think this race is going to play. It's different from the men's race because often in women's races like this, we don't see a big breakaway. Often it's partly because there's just not the depth in the field that they have in the men's field. So I think what we're going to see is, rather than we'll see a couple of riders who make attempts at breakaways, but I think what we're going to see is a gradual kind of ratcheting up of the pace as the laps go on. And I think you're right. I think with 100 kilometers to go, if there's 20 riders left in the front group, I'd be pretty surprised. And then we're just going to get an all-out kind of slog for 100k, and let's see who wins. But again, it's who kind of sits on the front and raises that pace. The Dutch team, I think you do. I think you have Vollering and Van der Breggen, but you don't have a Pieterse here. You don't have a third rider to throw in, who is kind of who's there to spoil it a little bit more. And so you do then have 5 riders who I'd say those other 5 riders, they're not going to have their own ambitions. They're going to be riding on the front. So we're going to see them control, but then then I think they potentially, if they burn those matches, they potentially come under a bit of a threat from the French, a bit of a threat from Marlon Reusser, who looks very good. The Italians have got a good team here. Kim LaCourt. I think Kim LaCourt is a big threat in this race. But certainly, I think teams are going to look at the Dutch. They're going to follow what the Dutch do. I think the Dutch will take it up, take responsibility, and we'll see a real, like you said, Ethan. Women's racing, especially this season, last season,
it's cracking.
It's been so really, much more it's so much more entertaining than the men's.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we're going to see a fantastic race, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it is sort of the unpredictability, but also with the strength of the teams, like, can actually the Netherlands, their domestiques, be able to carry this race beyond the first 50 kilometers, or will we see a Pauline Ferrand-Prévot just also try to explode the race and just very quickly go to a one-on-one fight, or like a much more reduced group fight?
It's going to end up becoming just a massive slugfest, I think. Then Ferrand-Prévot and Vollering are going to be dueling for the win. That's what I think. Maybe LeCourt just behind. That's in my head, but I mean, if you got a Ferrand-Prévot versus Vollering fight for a rainbow jersey, it'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
It would. I do think this Dutch team is better than that, though. I think you got Van Amrooy and you've got Royakkers and you've got Castellijn. They're three fantastic climbers. I think that those guys can last.
Get them to work.
If they were going themselves, they're top 10 contenders for the race, top 5 even. And so, I see those guys kind of going deeper into the race. But I do agree. Pauline Ferrand-Prévot is the biggest threat. Obviously, we saw that in the Tour de France Femmes. She did have some trouble with her preparation, didn't she? She was stuck in an airport for 24 hours on Monday, I think.
I had not heard that.
There was a big kind of hack on the
cyber
airports.
Attack, on all the EU airports.
Yeah, on the IT systems. And so she said, I think she said online, I think she said that she's going to be fresh because she's had one extra day off the bike. What impact is that going to have? I'm not really sure. She is going to be fresh, so that's probably a good thing. So Pauline Ferrand-Prévot,
don't expect that will have a big impact, but
I think she'll be okay. Yeah, I think the other rider to watch here is Marlon Reusser. I think TT, obviously, absolutely remarkable performance. We also saw that in the mixed relay, where we saw her kind of smashing on the front, having a mechanical getting dropped, and then chasing back her team and then riding her team in. So she is absolutely flying, Marlon Reusser. We've seen her earlier this year. Obviously, she had trouble at the Tour de France, but she was second in the Giro. She's won multiple races this year. She's won this year. I was looking back in her results earlier. This year, she's won her first UCI one-day race in her whole career outside of national championships.
Okay, did not know that.
So that I think that probably shows, compared to Vollering, compared to Ferrand-Prévot, she's not as good a one-day racer as those two and as some others here in this race. But and she's also not going to win in a sprint, so she is going to have to be solo. But she is the rider that you could be most confident of her form than anyone else.
And also, if she goes solo, then she has the ability to stay away.
They're not going to be catching Reusser all day.
No. But I also think I want to call out the French team with Carapaz and Labousse, who are able to help out Pauline Ferrand-Prévot quite deeply into the final. I think Muzic as well in that team.
Squibana as well.
Yeah, exactly. Super strong team. I think that's definitely able to rival the Netherlands. And sort of knowing the tactics from the French team on the men's side. They love a little bit of early warfare and kind of catching the main favorite team by surprise and just perhaps sending Carapaz or Labous on the attack very early on, completely burning up the Dutch team. That's kind of what I would expect to see. But yeah, that's my expectations. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think the other two riders in here and probably in that favourites bracket, you know, I think we've mentioned Kim Lecourt. There's also Kasia Niewiadoma. I'm not sure of her form really, and I'm not sure of her on this cobbled climb, whether she's going to be as strong as Vollering and others on this cobbled climb. But I certainly think, you know, we've mentioned Lecourt. If there is a group that comes to the line, nobody beats Lecourt in a sprint. I think, you know, I think that true. We saw that at Liège, Bastogne-Liège. We saw that in the Tour de France. Nobody beats her. It's just whether, I think this course has almost 1,000 more meters of elevation gain than Liège, Bastogne-Liège. I think it's maybe 800, between 800 and 900 more meters. So it's whether that accumulation of climbing it's going to be right on her limit, and that's going to then play into the hands of the likes of Vollering and Ferrand-Prévot. So I think
in terms of motivation, having the race on the African continent is definitely going to help her push it a little bit, maybe beyond her comfort zone where she would normally be, and really dig deep.
Yeah, possibly. I've interviewed her a few times, and I don't think she's never lacking for motivation or confidence. She is, you know, of most of the riders that I've spoken to, I've not really spoken to a rider who's as mentally strong as Kim Lecourt. She is so confident. She knows she can really push herself, and she. I spoke to her just before Milan-San Remo earlier this year, and she said she believed that she had the strength and the ability to challenge the likes of Vollering, but she just never got the opportunity to. Either she's been out of position, or she's been something in a race had always gone wrong, and she'd never had that chance to kind of go toe to toe, you know, following attacks. And then we saw Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and that's what happened. She was able to stick with them, and she was able to beat them in a sprint. So I think she's not going to be, you know, motivation's not going to be a problem. I don't think it ever is. And you're right, you know, maybe she'll push a little bit more. But I think they've got to get rid of. I think that would be a big thought in their minds, is they've got to get rid of Kim Lecourt.
Yeah,
she being from Mauritius, you know, her teammates won't be with her past 50 kilometers, if that. So she's not going to have the support of her team. But they still have to drop her somehow.
It's a really nice introduction to the character of Kim Lecourt as well. That's really insightful. Thank you. Anything else on the women's field, or are we ready to swap back to the men's field and also talk a little bit about the outsiders there?
I think everyone has got to give the podium. I mean, that's always a good one, isn't it? Everyone stick the neck on the line. Go on, Bram, first.
The women's podium.
Yeah, the women's podium.
I can start with first place, Ferrand-Prévot, Vollering, and Reusser.
You copied my pick.
Well, don't let me go first then.
I will say I'm going to bet on the form, and I'm going to say Marlon Reusser is going to win the Rainbow Bands. I think behind her, I think we're going to see a mess up from the Dutch, but I think then we're going to see Anna van der Breggen come in second place. She was second, so that's a 1-2 from your TT. So maybe not being. Then I think we'll see Pauline Ferrand-Prévot after that.
Pauline Ferrand-Prévot first, then I can't say Bram's choice now, can I? So I'm going to go Kimihura second and then Vollering third. I don't know why. I believe in Kimihura a lot. The motivation is there, isn't it? So.
I mean, she's also said that it's a real goal for her. So, yeah, sounds good. All right, back to the men's side. Of course, we have one top favorite. We've already discussed it at the top, Pogačar.
I think you got to say two favorites. Honestly,
yeah, I didn't want to go there because I'm too biased.
I think it has to be.
If you want to go there, then you can go there.
It has to. You have to say two favorites, Pogačar and Evenepoel.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Especially after the TT, where I think even, well, it's a TT. Evenepoel is perhaps the best. Well, not perhaps, is the best in the world at that. But still being able to catch your rider in front of you with 2.5 minutes, mentally, I think that has to have some effect on a Pogačar. Kind of getting to feel how good Evenepoel is, even on that last little climb up to the line, still losing time there, even though there was some drafting opportunity and still getting distanced. Yeah, I think that has to have some effect.
No, it also is kind of a spur Pogačar moment, because you see in the Tour, obviously, in this year, it was all like his spots where he had his moments of weakness, and he came back and went, I'm having that, thank you very much, and made it his own. So is in that exact same spot, is Pogačar going to drop Evenepoel on that exact spot of that climb where he got overtaken?
Oh, that would be a headline, wouldn't it? There you go. That would be a good story.
It would be the kind of thing that could happen, I think, really, as well. It depends on the outcome of the Mount Kigali as well.
True. But of course, I think with both of those two, if they do go solo, once they are solo, I think both of them can be expected to stay away. Typically, when either of those two are clear of the bunch, there really isn't much opportunity for catching them. It doesn't happen very often, at least.
Well, I mean, Rodos last year, I mean, he looked a bit like shaky, kind of thing. Pogačar at the end, but obviously he held on. Evenepoel, I think if Evenepoel's gone, he's gone. You can't catch him. Pogačar is... He has the moments, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's going to be, again, it's going to be how they judge it with this, with the air quality, with the elevation. It's going to be, I think that's going to be, if you can get it, I think you can get this race really wrong. I think you can think, this is the power I put down when I'm in Europe. I'm going to be able to put this power down now, and that's what we've seen riders saying, that they're not meeting their power targets. They're not meeting their power targets in the time trial. So what do? Do they just knock their power targets down by 10% for the road race, and say I'm gonna do that? I think it's going to be really easy to misjudge your effort in this race. I think Pogačar and Evenepoel, they got the teams behind them to probably get that right. But there's a bit of jeopardy there.
Mm-hmm. Of course, there was already that opportunity to completely misjudge your power estimates in the TT. I think from that we can already conclude that it's a mistake that is unlikely to befall to Remco, because he judged that effort pretty spot on.
There's one thing misjudging judging a TT and a 260, 70k road race, isn't there? I think there's a slight difference there, but it's true. I think Remco, he's a sort of guy that's going to be in his brain already. He's already probably made those calculations along with his coach.
Definitely. Next to those, I think there are, I think 4 or 5, up to 10, if you want to be generous, other favorites that could have like a surprise role or kind of, well, to be honest, I'd be really surprised if the World Champion jersey next year isn't worn by Pogacar or Evenepoel, but we have to talk about other options as well. Ones I want to call out, Healy, Del Toro, Ciccone, and Pidcock.
Pidcock, no.
No? Too tough?
I don't. Maybe, I think many people like, what's the word? Kind of like are seeing him now as a GC rider and obviously the Vuelta. And what impact is that going to have on now the World Championships? I think the elevation is a bit too much for Pidcock. But Del Toro, actually, I think Del Toro is a really, really like nailed on kind of third kind of thing. I'd also think Healy may end up just completely blowing up. That's what I believe with Healy. He's going to go all in and then go kaput. Like a Bettiol in, what race is it?
Was it Dwars door Vlaanderen? Yeah.
Yeah, that was it, yeah. That's what I think there. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the outside
Healy is one of the guys who probably goes with 150 Ks to go.
Yeah, and it was all or nothing.
Get ahead of it all. Yeah. I think he did that last year as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's maybe three more names I'd like to throw in. I think Juan Ayuso is an interesting guy to think about here.
Imagine.
What form is he in? Looking at the Vuelta, I mean, who knows, really?
He had a good training camp there.
He had a good training camp. He had a lot of rest at the Vuelta. You know, I don't think he's that tired.
Lots of rest.
You know, there's a line of logic that suggests that Juan Ayuso is absolutely flying, and could, you know, he could be a big challenger to Pogacar.
No, true. He also has Mark Soler in his team, and he's already said that if we want to beat Pogacar, we have to make it as tough as possible, which is kind of weird to hear from his own teammate. It's kind of exposed. Okay, if we want to beat him, you just have to make it as hard as possible. It's like, shouldn't you not be saying how you can beat your own leader?
Well, I think Mark Soler and Juan Ayuso are kindred spirits, aren't they? They're one and the same. The two of them, you know. I think they're both. They're all right for, you know, at times for their team, but they'll also take their own chances, won't they? So Mark Soler knows what game to play.
Yeah, definitely, especially at the Vuelta every year.
Yes, yeah. Another guy I'd mention as well. We don't know probably where he's at, but Richard Carapaz. I'd say, you know, he's a guy who can do these long one-day races. He's gonna love the altitude. I think, you know, if he's on form. I mean, we don't know where his form is. We saw him in a few. Was it the Italian one-day races? He was working on I think, was it? I'm not sure. But he was, or was it a stage race? I can't remember. But he was working. He wasn't really riding for himself. He was working on the front, clearly trying to get a good bit of training in.
It was in Luxembourg, I think.
Luxembourg. Yeah. So he was doing lead outs in Luxembourg, if I remember rightly. And so he's clearly trying to tune his form there. So I think that's an interesting ride to think of. You know, is he going to win really? You know, he's going to have to be, you know, really probably the best we've ever seen him.
You never know with Carapaz, though, with things like that. He always springs a surprise, like a jack out in the box. It's like prime Carapaz, isn't it, really? I mean, if he won, that would be some scenes in his homeland of Ecuador. Absolutely crazy.
I mean, nobody really expected him to win the Olympics, I think, last time around. Or maybe some people did. I didn't. So he definitely has it in him to win these tough, like long distance races. And yeah, what you're calling out altitude, 100%.
Many of the South Americans are going to be in a nice kind of thing here, aren't they, really? So Bernal is here. I mean, what can Bernal do there?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think he's, I think he kind of showed during the Vuelta he's probably not at the level anymore. I don't think Bernal is he's not going to get back to these elite levels.
He'll never get back to that level. It's just
no.
I mean, it was nice to see him win the stage, obviously in the circumstances, and maybe like cycling has just gone too much of ahead of his peak kind of thing in terms of the way GC is now as well. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. That would be some stories. He could achieve a good result though as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
I think as well. Just going back to Isaac Del Toro, I think he is an interesting rider to think about. Since returning from the Giro, I think he came back at the Tour of Austria. I think he's done 21 race days, and he's won 11 times. In 2 months. It's been unbelievable.
It's the way he's won as well, though. I think as well. I mean, sorry, Dan. He goes and wins in any way. Like you see in the Pantani race, where he won out of like the reduced bunch. He can win solo. He can go on the attack on the climb and things like that. So, I mean, if it came down to like a reduced kind of thing, I think Del Toro out. If it,
I think the problem for him is distance.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
He's unproven at this distance.
He was top 15 at Milan San Remo this year, but that's obviously not got the same kind of level of intensity. But you're right, he's not winning races regularly, kind of over 200.
Right. One more name I want to throw into that mix is Primož Roglic. I think we've said it earlier. He doesn't come to races without certain ambition. Like, he does want to be able to do something. He said he just needs to get out of the way. I don't think that's what Roglic does. Does he just ignore his team and then try something, or does he just vanish?
Not
It's
vanish.
a massive gamble with him.
He's still going to at least play some part. I mean, that's why I like Roglic a lot, because he just goes and does what he wants, whatever he wants. So you ought to respect it. At the end of the day, he's near the end of his career. Could it be his last year in his career? I don't know, but it's just
he's got a
typical
contract
Roglic
for next year.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it has looked a little bit like the sense of retirement. You know what I mean, kind of thing. Like not giving up, but the goals are just not there, kind of thing. So yeah,
well, he was the man at Red Bull, wasn't he? When Red Bull came in, I mean, he was supposed to be the man, and they've got a new man now. So I think that's probably playing on his mind a bit. I think he's looked at other options.
Yeah, I think probably if he's gonna look elsewhere.
Yeah, I think probably, sadly, I think what Primož Roglic does is just get dropped. I don't really see. He's not raced in nearly 2 months. He's not raced since San Sebastian. Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure why he's chosen to come. Maybe he is flying. Maybe I'm going to eat my words here. But yeah, I think he just gets dropped, sadly.
I think it says a lot that he didn't choose to do the TT. As a former Olympic champion in that discipline, I think he had every right to kind of do that TT and go full gas there and kind of show us what he got. But there's also the chance that he wants to keep his form a surprise. And since he's not raced for so long, he might actually be flying and unleashes on Sunday.
A complete just joke kind of thing of Roglic. I mean, imagine he obviously has a big fan base, doesn't he? They'd be collecting all the receipts of every single person who was hating on Roglic and probably dishing it out to them as they do, which is fair enough. But yeah,
I'll expect them in the comments of our podcast.
I think actually, I think he'll get a top 10, Roglic. I would say that. Because if he's here for a reason, I mean, that's just the type of guy he is.
Is he? I'm not sure. Because I can also just see him. Oh no, it was fun. I got a good trip out of it.
Yeah, but if he comes in the top 10, and then he'll do some interview going, yeah, I mean, he just turned up. If he just turns up, he could at least come 10th.
No, I think he either DNFs after 100 kilometers or like full sends it. nothing in between.
Like
There's
his
no way
tour
that
move kind of thing, where he just went.
Yeah,
it's all or nothing. That's the point in his career where he's at. Like, it's either like trying to ride for the win or just not bothering. Because why otherwise do anything? What's he going to achieve with a 10th place in a world championship? Is that something he's going to look back at next year at the end of his career and say, yeah, did that, top 10 at the world championship, that's me? No. Then he's just going to get off the bike and just, no, don't want it. Let's go home. Let's go have a beer.
I'm going to throw one last rider in, just so we've mentioned him, just in case he wins. Because he did in April. He beat Pogačar in April, and it's Matthias Skjelmose. I think that is a rider. Again, if he's flying, if he's in a group, I think he's a podium contender for sure. I think he's worth a mention. He did have a crash, didn't he?
He always seems to have one though. That's his issue for me.
Yeah.
Really.
Was it the Maryland? Is it in Maryland? Yeah.
Yeah, the Maryland. Yeah, in the Baltimore kind of thing, isn't it? And then he had one in the. Was it the Tour as well? That he had one as well. Or was it the Giro?
That was the Tour, I think.
Yeah, the Tour, the nasty one. I mean, he always finds a way to crash, which is so unlucky for him. It's kind of like the Roglic trait kind of thing.
Yeah, but after that crash in Maryland, he did get 4th place in Quebec. So I don't think the result of that crash was that bad. He did also do Luxembourg, where he got 2nd in GC after winning a stage and having a pretty good TT as well.
If it comes down to like the reduced punch kind of thing, I mean, he's one of the best in the world at a kick. So absolutely can smoke a lot of people there. And I want to go and mention one more name. He had a very good TT on Sunday, and that is Leknessund. Leknessund does like it when the going gets tough. A 6th place is very good as well. But the team for Norway is obviously not the best. The Breggen, I can't butchering that name, but
the guy
Leknessund, if he goes, he can go and just carry himself. So I don't know if there are any more other riders.
I've heard this name. I've heard Leknessund called out. That's the second time I've heard it called out this week. I don't understand really. I don't see it. I think it's just, I think there's levels, and I don't think he's on the level.
Generally, when he goes in like a breakaway or things like that, for example, he just completely motors. Okay.
So we're talking. If we see Ben Healy, Andreas Leknessund, I don't know, Marc Soler in a mid race breakaway, then Pogačar and Remco are in trouble.
Soler would just sit on and do nothing. So I don't know, something like that. It would be typical.
I mean, to be fair, if Ben Healy's in a breakaway, he's just doing all the riding, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's true. He's not asking about anything.
Completely just on his front with like his style. But is there any other names? I'm trying to think.
I just saw Oscar Onley on the list, and as the 4th place from the Tour, I think you do kind of have to talk about him and see that it could be something.
Also got a good kick on him as well. Aronsman as well.
I'll support that Onley. I'll support that Onley pick. I live 20 minutes away from Oscar Onley, from where he grew up, and so I know that the roads around here are pretty punchy. But no, he's a rider who's done incredibly well this year. Race Tour of Britain, didn't he? And he wasn't kind of over and above anybody else, was he? He was kind of middling in that race. So maybe he's coming back into some form, but you got to think as well. Yeah, he probably built up to the Tour for months and months and months. Huge crescendo at the Tour. He probably took a week and a half off and barely did anything. Was he really expecting to do much after the Tour? I'm not sure. So again, it's for a lot of these riders, it's a question of who knows where their form is at.
True.
So we'll see.
with Onley. I think he went to Canada as well, DNF'd in Quebec, and got 19th in Montreal. So that's not super promising. It's not really a demonstration of form. And yeah, in Tour of Britain, the stage of the tumble, where it was there.
He attacked,
the
didn't he?
stage that Evenepoel won.
Yeah, there's a massive headwind, I think, into that on that climb. And I think that was the problem. But he did get away in there. But you're right. You know, in Canada wasn't quite at the level of Pogačar.
Right. I've been sort of on the side reading the preview from Irtopatina, which is going to go live on our website probably around the same time that this episode comes out. So I can already talk about it. He's also calling out as sort of side favorites or guys to watch: Sivakov, Simmons, Squins.
Squins is always there or thereabouts in the World Championships, around the top 10s. It's like
true.
Always. I mean, last year, where was it?
But surely this is too tough for him.
Yeah,
but like that's the thing with him. You say it's too tough, and then he somehow finds his way in 5th or 6th, or 7th.
But I don't think we've seen that at all. I don't think we've seen Squins do that at all this season.
Mm-mm.
He hasn't had the
it's
season.
More like last year.
Yeah,
kind of thing. The French team is very good, by the way. I've just seen it there. Obviously, Eric Petronius said there. Sivakov. They also have Louis Barry, who showed himself in the Canadian races. Jaeger as well. Somehow in the Tour, he was that incredible, really, I think. Just like not even on the TV kind of thing. Getting himself the breakaways then in the end as well, towards the end. And also in Luxembourg, he was with some of the strongest climbers in the world. So yeah, that would be an interesting proposition, the way he play out the French. With Alaphilippe as well.
Yeah, Alaphilippe would be the rider to call out for them, and maybe Barré-Pence.
I don't know, Sivakov maybe. I don't know what they did. There's too many riders the same kind of level.
True. It is a little bit chaos. And then I'm going to throw in one more name, and then I'm completely done, and that's Jay Vine. 3rd place, or 2nd place in the TT, coming out of the Vuelta with incredible shape. Elevation, like the altitude gain, not a problem for him. I feel like he built for these. So, but one-day races for Jay Vine, it's kind of untested territory.
I think if we can record Jay Vine really showing himself in the one-day race at all.
No, typically
I don't think so. But he does have the form. He is probably Australia's leader next to Jai Hindley. But
very nice team.
It's a nice team.
Australia.
I mean,
very nice.
Let's face it. We probably named like 12, 13, 14 riders, which is a lot. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 or 3, isn't it? And it's it's the way these things work. But you never know which one or 2 or 3. But we might do.
Yeah, it is just occasion. If it's a surprise, we have to be able to say we mentioned them.
That's
true.
And
we talked about
That's
them.
True.
Clip it for social media. Seemed like we're wise. To it.
Well, now Balcom is going to win, and we didn't mention him, so there you go.
Shit. But now you have, so
now I have. So there you go.
All right, let's maybe do some podiums. I will go last this time, just because I went first last time. So Ethan, maybe you go first.
Evenepoel, Pogačar. The 3rd place is very, very hard to predict. Leaning between Del Toro or Simmons.
See, Simmons is not a name we've talked about yet, and you're just throwing him in there.
Simmons. Go on, and Simmons. That would be cool to see.
Would be really cool to see. Don't know if it's too tough for him, but he's proven that like really tough one-day races is something that he can do. But this tough is something else.
The American power, that's what it is.
Dan, what's your pick?
I think, his race situation, I think what we're going to see is a big Pogačar attack, you know, in his usual, you know, maybe not quite, not quite like last year. Maybe sort of 70.
Will he stand on the pedals or stay seated?
No, he doesn't.
Because that's a prediction itself now.
No, he doesn't need to do that, does he? That's what he does now. It's a seated attacks. So seated attack with 70k to go. I think we see Remco slightly overconfident. Sorry. I think he's going to. I think he's going to think he can follow Pogačar. But Pogačar has lulled him into that false sense of security, and he's going to hang on to his wheel. And then I think what you said, Ethan, at that point where Pogačar was overtaken by Evenepoel in the time trial, we're going to see Evenepoel go pop outside the top 10. And then we're going to see Pogačar. It would be amazing, wouldn't it? We then go see Pogačar. He's going to win by 1 minute and 40, I'd say. And then we're going to see Skjelmose in second place. And I'll back Oscar Onley for a podium at the World Championships. That'd be pretty cool.
And a Remco propaganda machine. Let's see. If he doesn't say Remco, it's crazy.
To be fair, you've already picked Remco to win, so why do you call me the Remco propaganda machine?
Because I don't know, I just feel it.
Okay, I will actually say today Pogačar will win, but with Remco in second, not any of that top 10 or maybe even outside of the top 10. So Remco in second, and then in third, I am going to place Juan Ayuso. Wants to. Yeah, really a very specific prediction from you, Dan. I like that. You can also kind of see it play out. I don't know if Pogačar has that pettiness in him to like really want to break Remco at that specific spot.
He's going to wait for that moment and drop 1200 watts, and that's going to be game over for Remco.
He did turn petty though in the Tour, a little bit kind of thing like that. So
yeah, he kind of did.
You could kind of see him.
But there's a number of possibilities here. I mean, I can see Juan Ayuso winning. I don't know. There's something within me that sees that happening. I don't know if that's very silly, but I can see him hanging on to Pogačar if Pogačar's not quite there and attacking. You know, I don't think we've not seen. I think you've got riders like Juan Ayuso, you've got riders like Isaac Del Toro, who we haven't seen their limits. Guys like Ciccone, guys like Healy, Pidcock, Carapaz. We've seen how far they can go. We've seen them be dropped by Pogačar. Ayuso and Del Toro, I mean, by virtue of them being his teammates and them being young and upcoming riders, improving riders, we've not seen, it. There has to be a breakthrough moment at one point. There has to be a moment where, in Pogačar's career, where somebody comes up and overtakes him. I don't think it's yet. I don't think it's probably for another, 5 years. But
I think he'll be retired by then, no?
Well, there's could he may take a sabbatical after this year. That's been. Well, I don't know if that's been rumored, but somebody suggested that idea that he could take a break. But I think could we see? Are we going to see a big breakthrough ride? By someone like Ayuso or Del Toro or Onley, one of these young guys. We've said there's so many young massive talents coming through. Are we going to see one of them say, I'm stepping up into this big five and into this elite category of riders? Maybe Sunday's the day. Has to happen sometime.
It would be
especially
quite
I think with Ayuso. It would be just a massive middle finger to UAE's management. Of, like if I can race against him, I can actually hold on and do this. But you guys didn't trust me or didn't have enough faith in me. I can just see him do that.
It's a shame though, Bram. He could have got to show off the rainbow jersey in the Tour of Guangxi.
Maybe UAE will still send him there so he can have as many race days as possible in that beautiful jersey. I can also see them being that petty.
Yeah, I honestly probably could. I mean, we had that discussion when that came out. That article came out that they let him off of racing it as well. It was
I saw that. Yeah,
quite comical.
Yeah, I still think they're gonna send him. It'd be hilarious.
Because linking it to a dictatorship, surely you'd still hold that to account and say, you said that, and then this is your punishment. I mean, calling it a dictatorship is it one of the maddest things you've probably seen in cycling?
Rwanda's maybe not the place
team?
to...
Oh, yeah.
Imagine that, calling it a dictatorship and then going and win in front of a dictator. It would be...
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Some way.
Well, I think that's all. I think we've covered the road races. I think we've covered all of our favorites. We've covered our podiums. So now it's time to see how accurate we've been and wrap up this podcast. I want to thank both of you for talking through this. And I want to thank everyone who's listened for this far to our rambles. And yeah, enjoy the World Championships and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.